Shalom WJC family. It's time for our weekly Torah talk. This weekend is Thanksgiving weekend. You will often hear Jewish people say how Thanksgiving is the most Jewish secular holiday. Thanksgiving is such a core of who we are as Jews. Yehudim literally comes from the name of Judah, of Yehudah, which comes from the root hod, or to give thanks. We are people who give thanks. And so a Thanksgiving holiday matches very well to who we are. But when we stop and think about it, the holiday itself raises questions, as do a lot of Jewish holidays at which we're supposed to give thanks. What if I'm not feeling thankful when Thanksgiving rolls around? These are difficult times with events going on in Israel and anti-Semitic events going on in America. The days are getting shorter, it's getting darker, it's getting colder. What if I don't feel like giving thanks? And this is the question about gratitude. Right? What is gratitude for? Why would we have a whole holiday to give thanks when we might not be feeling thankful? The answer to that is an important Jewish concept that we can see even in our Torah portion this week about Yaakov, who will become Yisrael, right? Our namesake, the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Yaakov. And we learn that he is running away from home, right? He's deceived his brother and his father, and he's running towards Haran, towards his uncle Laban's house, for safety and to find a wife there. And he goes to sleep and he has this dream, right? He's in the middle of nowhere. He's just running along. I mean, it's not the middle of nowhere. We now know it as Beit El. It's a very important spot, but Beit El doesn't exist yet. This is why it exists. And Yaakov goes to sleep and he dreams of this ladder. And angels are going up and down this ladder all the way to heaven. And he wakes up and he builds an altar and he decides to give an offering of thanks to God. He says, surely God is in this place, right? Achin yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh. Surely God is in this place. Ve'anochi lo yadati. And I just didn't know it. I couldn't see it. You would think if God is in a place, we would be aware of it all the time. But of course, God is all around us. God is in everything and everywhere. And yet, the truth is most of us don't recognize that on a regular basis. And he was scared and he said, Ma norah hamakom hazeh. How awesome, how terrible is this place? Ein zeh ki'im beit Elohim. This is none other than the house of God. V'zeh sha'ar hashamayim. And this is the gate of heaven. How could you be standing at the gates of heaven and not know it? He gets up in the morning, and what does he do? He takes the rock on which he'd been laying his head, and he makes an altar, and he gives an offering of thanks. And the lesson here is what thanks is for, right? What gratitude is for. We, in our culture, tend to think of thanks and gratitude as something we give when we feel satisfied with something that's happened or good about something that's happened to us. And we learn from this story that, in fact, it's giving thanks that makes us aware of what's going on around us, that reminds us we should be thankful, right? Yaakov went to bed. He didn't know what was around him. He gets up and he gives thanks, and he knows now he can see the divine all around him. Not because anything changed in the landscape or what he was experiencing, but because he stopped to recognize what was good. Hakarat hatov, the recognition of what's good, is the Jewish word, the Hebrew word for gratitude. It's symbolized by a story in the Babylonian Talmud from Brachot 58a. Ben Zoma used to say, a good guest says, how much my host toiled for me. He put so much meat in front of me, so much wine, so much bread. All his exertion was just for me. And a bad guest says, what did my host toil for me? I ate just one roll, just one piece of meat. I drank just one cup. All his exertion was for his own household. Right? What Ben Zoma is telling us is a way of viewing the world. right? We can either view the world that the good things that we have are our bounty. We're here for us, something that we should be grateful for. And therefore, by calling out our gratitude to recognize how fortunate we are, or to say, all this stuff was here anyway. What does it matter? The world is the world. If I have a few good things, big whoop. If I have some bad things, it's all just a coincidence. And we have the choice to be a good guest or a bad guest. Are we going to be grateful for what's been laid before us in this beautiful world, even at times when things are getting dark? Or are we going to be a bad guest and say, it's dark, and there's anti-Semites in the world, and there's terrible things happening to the Jewish people in Israel, and the Jewish people are being forced, the Israelis are being forced to make terrible decisions on behalf of their people, being put in a terrible situation, and on and on and on. And we could say, it's all dark, and what do I have to be grateful for? A holiday like Thanksgiving, and all of our Jewish holidays of gratitude, even Shabbat, week in and week out, are here to remind us to stop and to be grateful. That it is our job to stop and to be grateful. And putting aside a day for that makes sense. Why? Because when we stop on Thanksgiving or on Shabbat or on other Jewish holidays, or whenever we are so inspired on any day of the week by saying blessings on our food or on events, by saying tefillah, prayers in the morning, or just a prayer of gratitude in our heart, we stop even amid dark times and call forth the sparks of light. And so we can see them. And suddenly, through the tool of gratitude, we can recognize all the goodness around us. We can recognize those sparks of light even in the darkness. That is not just a brilliant idea for this Thanksgiving holiday, and I hope we're all able to recognize by coming together as a family at a time when families are under threat in Israel and here, that we can come together and recognize how lucky we are, how much we have to be grateful for to gather as a family. Right? These times remind us of how important the fabric of family is, to come together for a ritual meal, an American ritual meal or a Jewish ritual meal. And by calling out that which we have to be grateful for, may we all have that sense of how much light there still is in the world, how much light we have the opportunity to bring into this dark world by bringing Jewish values, by bringing Jewish practice, by honoring our families, by helping and honoring other people's families, that we can be the sources of the light. Gratitude is such a valuable tool. If we sit around and wait for a time that we're happy, we may never be thankful again. But when we call forth thankfulness, when we look in the world for things to appreciate, when we use gratitude as a tool to drive out the darkness and raise up the light, well, that's a powerful way to build a world of more light, to motivate us to go forward, spreading that light, as is our job, even as it was the job of Yaakov Avinu, of Jacob, our forefather, Israel, as the Bnei Yisrael. May you have a happy Thanksgiving. May we all fulfill that mission of the Jewish people and have so much to be grateful for. May the world get lighter so that we don't have to look so hard in the darkness for those sparks of light. And by raising up the sparks of light, may they catch and ignite the world around us, that it may be good, that we can see and sense more goodness, that our people and all people can be safe. And that we can celebrate on Thanksgiving, and that we can celebrate every Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.